Imagine standing in front of a cracked mirror, the reflection showing not just your physical appearance but the weight of years spent in shame. In a world that often equates beauty with worth, Dabi found herself lost-mocked by her husband, Yucha, and disowned for her appearance. For a long time, she believed the whispers behind her back. Look how fat she has become, and that man will soon take another wife. But what happens when a woman's spirit breaks free from the chains of societal expectations and personal humiliation? This is the tale of transformation, resilience, and reclaiming one's self-worth against all odds. If you're inspired by stories of courage and resilience, hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating tales from the heart of Africa. Share this video with friends who need a little motivation to rise above their struggles, because, together, we can inspire change. In the heart of Enugu, Nigeria, life pulsated with vibrant colors and spirited chatter. Yet for Dabi, each day began with a heavy heart. The golden sun would rise, casting its warm light over her humble home. But inside, shadowed by self-doubt, she felt trapped. Dabi was no stranger to beauty norms. In fact, she grew up with mirrors that only reflected the voices of critics who whispered behind her back. "Look at her," they'd say, "she doesn't deserve love." This kind of judgment was not just a passing comment. It was a constant cloud that hung over her, darkening her spirit. Dabi often found refuge in the stories her grandmother used to tell, filled with strong, beautiful women who defied cultural expectations. "You must hold on to your heart," her grandmother had once said. "Beauty is like a flower that blooms and withers, but your essence is eternal." Yet, with each taunt from her husband Yucha, a man she once thought was her protector, those wise words felt like fading echoes. Instead of love, Yucha's eyes mirrored societal judgments. "You've lost your beauty, Dabi," he would often say, an edge of disdain coloring his tone. It was as if every curve added to her body was a mark against her soul. Yucha had once believed in her potential, but as time passed, his admiration morphed into ridicule. If he caught her savoring a piece of ripe mango, he would snort, "Aren't you sweet enough already?" The laughter from his friends would pierce her heart like a dagger. The whispers became a persistent soundtrack to her life. "Why does she still walk with pride?" they'd murmur. One must become thin to deserve respect. And so, the world around her turned into a relentless reminder of inadequacy. Dabi wished she could shrink away, become invisible event as she stood surrounded by friends and family. While shopping at the local market, vibrant stalls bursting with fruit and spices buzzed with life. Dabi would see women of all shapes and sizes chatting animatedly. But often, her eyes would search for a reflection of herself in a nearby stall's glass. The laughter of other women was mingled with her own insecurities. They were embracing their lives, and she felt shackled by fear. "What if they see me for who I really am?" she would ponder. But one fateful day, as Dabi meandered through the market, she stumbled upon a wise old woman named Mama Chigioke, who sold handmade jewelry. Mama Chigioke had a presence that demanded respect, and although her skin was lined with age, there was a glow to her demeanor that made everyone stop and listen. "Child, why do you wear that frown like a cloak?" Mama Chigioke asked, her eyes sparkling with understanding. Dabi hesitated, but then poured her heart out, recounting the pain of mockery at home. Upon hearing Dabi's tale, the elder leaned closer. "Do not let the small hearts of others define your worth. Look beyond their shallow thoughts." At that moment, Dabi felt a flicker of hope. Could it be that her true beauty was indeed tied to how she looked, but to how she felt within? Yet doubt lingered like charcoal smoke, heavy and suffocating. Dabi left the market with a handmade bracelet cradled in her hands, a talisman of possibility echoing the wise woman's words in her mind. But could she truly break free from Yucha's judgment? As days turned into weeks, Yucha's remarks persisted. Each day felt like a battle of self-acceptance against a tide of negativity. The ridicule seeped deep into her bones, and she pondered the idea of leaving but felt paralyzed by fear of the unknown. Would anyone truly care for her beyond her appearance? The loneliness draped itself over her like a thick blanket every evening, blanketing out any flicker of self-love. But one evening something shifted. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Adabi found herself staring into the mirror again. Instead of focusing on her perceived flaws, she remembered Mama Chijok's words, "You are enough." Would she find the courage to challenge the mockery? What if, just what if, there was more to her life than simply adhering to judgments? Little did she know, the journey towards self-acceptance was just beginning a journey that would unveil the strength of her spirit and perhaps transform her world. It was a still morning, the kind that held the promise of change. Dobby stood by her window, the fresh scent of earth after a night's rain wafting in through the cracks. She could feel the weight of her fears beginning to lift, a soft breeze that nudged her toward something extraordinary. With each passing day, Adabi committed to the notion that she could rise above the labels placed upon her. She had a choice, to succumb to the negativity or to break free and embrace her true self. And that morning, she chose the latter. With a deep breath, Adabi gathered her strength and stepped out into the world. She began sharing her thoughts and experiences with the women in her community's sisters she had once envied, and mothers who smiled but never fully embraced her. It was in this openness that a new sense of camaraderie blossomed. "Why don't we support one another?" Adabi proposed one afternoon. "Instead of tearing each other down, let's uplift and empower." Her passion sparked a dialogue that sought to redefine beauty beyond the narrow confines of societal expectations. The more they talked, the more Advi became a source of inspiration, not just for herself, but for others as well. Women like Nkechi, who had also been subjected to harsh judgments and ridicule, began to share their stories too. "You are so brave to speak your truth," Nkechi said, tears glistening in her eyes. "I felt so alone." In those moments of vulnerability, a community began to emerge, one that thrived on authenticity and support. They started gathering every week, sharing laughter and learning from one another's journeys. Adabi soon learned about the diverse experiences that shaped beauty in their lives. It became clear that the measure of a woman's worth could not be confined to her size or shape, but was threaded through her character, strength, and the love she extended to others. The following week, they held a gathering, a celebration of their uniqueness. Each woman shared their story of struggle, resilience, and triumph, creating a tapestry of empowered voices that echoed through the marketplace. Meanwhile, Adabi's relationship with Yucha began to shift. One evening, as he sat watching her laugh and engaged joyfully with women from the community, he was taken aback. He had grown accustomed to witnessing her in a shroud of shame and sorrow. A flicker of realization danced in his eyes. Perhaps he had been looking at Adabi through a distorted lens. Though uncertain, he felt a stirring within, a sense of admiration for her newfound confidence. "Why do you spend so much time with them?" he asked, trying to mask his curiosity with a hint of disdain. But Adabi, now empowered, simply smiled and responded, "Because I found my worth among friends who see me for who I truly am." Perhaps it was this boldness that made Yucha question his own perceptions. Over time, he began to join the gatherings, witnessing the transformative energy that radiated from Adabi. As the days merged into weeks, a new dawn emerged in Adabi's life. Her rebellious spirit flourished, remarking not only on the beauty of others, but also on her own. Embracing her body, she began to love every part of herself, the curves, the laughter lines, the strength in her demeanor. It was as if a vibrant rainbow had painted over the gray clouds that once shadowed her existence. However, the true test of her newfound strength came when Yucha approached her one evening with trembling hands. "I've seen the way you glow," he admitted, voice quivering with vulnerability. "But I want to do better. I want to see you for you." And in that moment, she had a choice to accept his evolution or to continue her path alone. It echoed the journey she had embraced, one of self-worth and resilience. A path leading toward liberation, not just for herself, but for the one who had once belittled her. In the weeks that followed, Adabi came to understand something profound. The journey to embracing oneself often fuels the liberation of others. As she held the doors of self-acceptance wide open, she realized this was a profound truth. Healing flowed not only through her but through Yucha as well, who began to reconcile the narrative of beauty he had once upheld. Ultimately, the tale of Adabi transcended the boundaries of her struggle. It became a beacon of hope for many who had felt disowned by their own reflection. And so, as she wrapped up her third gathering, she looked around at her sisters, each a warrior in their lives. "Remember," she said passionately, "we are all worthy. Our beauty gleams brightest when we illuminate one another's hearts." Adabi's journey teaches us that the path to self-acceptance is not always linear, but it is attainable. Each of us has a story filled with beauty, strength, and resilience powerful reminders that we are not alone in our struggles. So, when the world attempts to define you by narrow ideals, remember Adabi, who chose to rise and redefine her narrative. Thank you for joining us on this powerful journey through the heart of African folklore. If you enjoyed this tale of transformation and empowerment, please like, share, and subscribe for more uplifting stories from our rich cultural heritage. Until next time, keep shining brightly and embrace your unique journey. Would you like any additions or modifications to this script?